I love that we were both dancing backstage.
And it brought me up a question and maybe a little thing that we can talk about. But first, let's introduce ourselves because we're queens.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Benet.
And I'm Kumi.
And this is the CastABLE Podcast, where we focus on what we can do to abolish ableism in the entertainment industry. How are you, Kumi?
I'm good. I'm good. I think as good as one can be in these times. In these dystopian apocalyptic times. I think what keeps me grounded though is just remembering that there are still many of us that have hope, and that there is still joy to be had, to experience in this life.
Yes.
And that joy can look like many things. I think for me, it's like really being there for my community, and not just people with disabilities, but like, my immigrant siblings, our siblings who are on SNAP and like, any sort of federal aid, people who are losing their benefits left and right, who need them to survive. So that's what brings me joy right now, is being there for my community. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm going to piggyback because we always talk about here on this podcast, about how much we have, how similar we all are. And the thing that is bringing me hope, along with all of those beautiful things that you spoke of, was the fact of the matter that now people are having that realization as well. So it's opening up people's minds. It's actually showing, hey, we have a lot more in common than we have separate and different, which I really appreciate. So that brings me hope as well, because finally people are starting to be like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't just affecting them. This is also affecting me. You know what I mean? And bringing and building of a community in a very dystopian, crazy, I can't curse, but you know what I'm saying? Like messed up way. I love the FAFO of it all.
Yeah, I love a good FAFO. We love a good acronym on this show.
FAFO. But I wanted to bring up this point because yes, we were rocking out, but we've never spoken about the composer of that phenomenal music.
I was thinking the same thing. Yes.
See, this is why we are now Lavender Wives. This is you see this relationship. This is now blossom.
Speaking of relationship too, we also celebrated our first 2-year anniversary. We celebrated our 2-year anniversary together, and I can't believe it's been 2 years.
Me neither.
Are you happy? This was your brainchild.
This was my brainchild. I couldn't be happier. Not only do I have a fabulous platform to be able to educate people and kind of open people's minds and perspective without calling them names or canceling them, but I have developed such a beautiful relationship with you that I can't imagine my life without you. I'm getting a little teary-eyed. Oh my God. But, there's been so many blessings in these 2 years that, who knew back in November of, 2022.
Yeah.
That 2023, that we would now be sitting here just enjoying each other's company all the time.
Happy anniversary, boo.
Happy anniversary.
Yes, but our composer of our intro and our outro is a very dear friend of mine. His name is David Galvan. I met David when I was looking for an accompanist for a cabaret that I was doing, and he has just kind of been the little brother. I call him Little Kuya, which Kuya means like older brother, but like he's still my little older brother, and he's so talented. I'm gonna reach out to him and see if he can share some of his stuff with us, that we can share it with our viewers, with our fans. But he's great. Yeah, he did that on a whim for us, so we're deeply grateful. But today, I'm equally grateful and super excited to chat with our guest today. Our guest today has a story that truly illustrates the power of art to heal and transform. Kristen Olinger lived for 37 years before receiving a diagnosis for a genetic disorder she'd been born with. In that moment of revelation, she turned to art as a way to process complex emotions and find self-acceptance. What began as a personal journey has now blossomed into a powerful act of advocacy, with Kristen sharing her work publicly to challenge perceptions of disability and visually represent the often unseen aspects of disabled life.
Yes.
Please welcome to the CastABLE stage, the one and only Kristen Olinger.
Hi!
Hi, Queen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you two?
We're great. Honored to have you on the podcast with us. And I kind of, backstage peeped some of your artwork, and it's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. But I see that you also have some of your artwork on the back of your wall there.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Exquisite. I'm going to just kind of roll in and ask the first question. We have a lot of similarities and a lot in common about diagnosis and learning later, and also, situations where our disability comes in later. But I want to know, how did that diagnosis change your understanding of your life up to this point? And then also, I'm going to piggyback, did it reframe past experiences or challenges for you?
Absolutely. That was the biggest thing. It was kind of like looking back on everything with a new lens, because even though the diagnosis came later, the symptoms didn't. The symptoms were always there, almost as far back as I can remember, from childhood, hospitalizations, unexplained, just constant medical issues that I was constantly going to the doctor for, but it was constantly written off as laziness, dehydration, being a female, just all these different things. And it really took my husband, to be honest, advocating for me in the doctor's office, because for me being written off for 37 years, I stopped speaking up in the doctor's offices, because it was like, well, this is just normal. And you are, I guess, sorry, I get like caught up in my head sometimes, but I guess for me mentally, I would look around and say, well, how come everybody else isn't struggling with things like walking up the stairs or standing, or just these things that seemed like simple tasks, brushing your teeth, taking a shower. Like, I would always have to sit down in the shower because I felt like I was going to pass out. Well, I was going to pass out because my blood pressure was like 70. But that's because it was an undiagnosed, condition that I have orthostatic hypotension. So standing up, my blood pressure drops drastically. So there's all these, things that just were not acknowledged. Because it's not visible, it was just written off. And I stopped speaking up about it because everybody had told me my whole life, that's normal, and you're just over exaggerating, and you're just being lazy, and yada yada yada. So again, it was my husband that was like, no, this is not normal. And he was the one that really kind of like advocated and made them listen, because again, I'm sure, as you guys know, being a female and going into these situations, they write you off as being hysterical, as being overly dramatic, all of these things. So it took somebody else saying, this is what's happening to her, for them to take it a little bit more seriously. Even then, there were so many roadblocks, which is so frustrating with like our healthcare system. We are in California. You would think that California, there's so much great opportunities with healthcare and all this. They had to send me out of state to the Mayo Clinic just to even get diagnosed, which was not paid for by insurance, not covered, And it's another one of those things that I would have been like, no, this is too inconvenient. We can't afford it, But my husband was like, no, we're going to do this. And, prioritized that we got to the bottom of it. So.
I mean, I completely validate that experience. When I was going through my journey to disability, and I was going to doctors talking about my injuries, I would literally have to bring my 9-year-old into the room with me, because then at least there would be a lot more attention to my needs and my wants. Despite the fact that he wasn't saying anything, just having him in the room with me made him more attentive. Yeah. And I totally validate your experience, and I sincerely apologize for it. And I actually, because I don't know, but I want to know what your actual diagnosis is.
So I have multiple, and that's the fun thing about this too. It started with Ehlers-Danlos, which is a connective tissue disorder, which affects your whole body, because connective tissue is the glue for your body. So that spawned this kind of like snowball effect, because once I got that diagnosis, it was like, well, you should go and get this ruled out. But all of the doctors that I went to rule out different things wound up ruling things in. It was like, oh, now you have heart issues, and now you have this, and now you have that. So I wound up with like 10 other diagnoses. So the most notable would be dysautonomia, which includes like the orthostatic hypotension, where my blood pressure drops. I have really high heart rates. Like when I would brush my teeth, my heart rate would be like 220.
My God.
Wow.
Again, I thought that was normal though. I didn't know any different. My that's been my heart rate the whole time. So it was like the Truman Show, that I was looking back on things and I was questioning every single symptom and every single part of my life, going, oh, that's not normal. Oh.
I think the funny thing about like the whole medical world is that one would think that the doctor's office would be the one place that people with disabilities are understood. And more often than not, we are met with like deer in the headlights, or, as we've all here experienced, just being dismissed. And it just baffles me.
Yes,
it really does. And I really do feel that the one group of people who should understand, or at least attempt to understand, people with disabilities are medical professionals.
Yeah,
I think attempt is the key word.
Yeah,
attempt.
Please.
Yeah,
please
attempt. Please attempt.
Please.
Yeah,
that was the most shocking thing for me, because like I said, I had to go out of state to get the diagnosis. But then I was like, okay, well, now that I have the diagnosis, I can come back to my doctors and say, I have Ehlers-Danlos. Now what? And my doctor literally looked at me and said, well, I don't know anything about that. You're probably going to have to go back to Arizona. And that was probably like the single most, I don't want to cry, but that was probably the single most defeatist moment of my life, was feeling very abandoned and very like, where's the answers now? Like, yeah. I was assuming, like, I feel like everybody, until you're in this position, that the medical professionals, even if they don't know, that they're going to say, okay, well, let me look it up, or let me figure it out with you, or like, not just, you know?
Yep.
So that was the most, my lowest point probably. It was like literally right after the diagnosis, where I thought that meant I was going to get the help. And then it was like crickets. But again, my husband, being relentless, he found somebody that was relatively close by, that his daughter actually has Ehlers-Danlos and is a doctor. So he has devoted his life really to helping other people. And it's really only because it's affected him personally.
Yeah.
You know?
That part.
Yeah. Yeah.
That part.
I want to talk more about your art. And I have a double question. So what was it about art that really provided you with a sense of comfort or understanding? And kind of, for anybody that doesn't know about you or your art, can you explain it to us? Maybe
yeah.
I have a couple of visuals and we can see what's in the back too.
Yeah. So artwork, or art in general, has always been a way for me to express you know, how I'm feeling. I feel like a lot of artists, whether you're a singer or a dancer or whatever, it's kind of how you express yourself. And for me, it's always been through photography. That's been my medium. So when I got the diagnosis, I turned to artwork as a way to kind of process that visually and kind of share with friends and family in a visual way, like what I was experiencing, and kind of how overwhelming it was, and to try to make this invisible thing a visible representation of what was going on. And this piece right here was the very first one I ever did, and it was called Pills, 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 because it was my processing just having to take so much medication all of a sudden. That was a new concept for me, really, was having to take medication all the time.
Yeah.
That wasn't something that was in my wheelhouse before. So, and I had to set alarms to remind myself and all that stuff. So, and then this one with the IV, that's something that's been incorporated into my life for like the last 5 years, is that every week I have a nurse come to the house and set me up with hydration therapy. So every single week I have to get IVs, which, to be honest, I used to be absolutely terrified of needles. So it's kind of like an ironic thing that I have to do that all the time now. So that was one thing to overcome, but also just, you just don't see these kind of things represented. Like for me, going through it myself, I wasn't seeing that represented. And I also, this is a genetic disorder. This is something that affects my family. I have several nieces that likely have inherited this. One in particular, she's been on a feeding tube since she was several months old, and she has multiple medical concerns. So it reframed the way that I thought about how disability and chronic illness and all of these things are represented visually in the world, and the stigma behind them. And that was where I went from this personal, like, cathartic project to advocacy.
Yeah.
I love all of that. And I love that you're just, through your beautiful art and your art of expression, that you're normalizing it.
Yes.
You know, you're normalizing it. And I love that, because it literally is a normalizing. For a lot of us, it is very jarring when we have to start to introduce these things. But as long as we're normalizing it, you know, even though it was jarring for us, for the people that come after us, maybe it won't be so jarring, and that will be our, you know, contribution. And I love that you just totally led me up to my next question, because my next question is actually, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about disability that you hope to dispel through your art?
Well, the main thing with all of my pieces is that none of them are in this sterile medical environment, because that's the biggest misconception, is that all disability and all medical and all illness and all of this stuff is that we live this sterile life that has no, you know, I don't know what the word is.
Joy, happiness,
normality, I guess. The stuff that makes us us, you know, like all of the things. Like, I love fashion, I love architecture, I love all these things, and being sick doesn't take away from that.
Yeah.
None of the challenges that I faced have removed any of my passion for these other things. So I think that that's the case, and that's why all of my pieces are juxtaposed both parts of me, the medical stuff as well as the Kristen.
Yeah.
You know,
I love
so,
it. I love the Kristen.
and that's what I want you to see, is both sides. I'm not trying to hide the medical side of me, because that is just as much as a part of my personality. And by hiding that or not talking about that, you're not talking about what I'm going through as a person. But equally so, if you're not talking about fashion or music or any of the other stuff, you're not seeing me as who I am either. You know what I mean? So like, it's about seeing both sides of who we
And
are.
I will say that you and your husband are quite the fashionista and fashionista. I don't know what but you guys are so stylish. And I mean, having met you literally a couple of times, I see, even if I'm just thumbing through Instagram, I look at your art and I'm like, that's so you. Anybody who knows you for a decent amount of time can just look at it and be like, that's Kristen. That's your art is, it captures the essence of you and the complexity of you.
That's a huge compliment. So thank you so much.
And I can't wait to get my piece.
Yes. I'm so honored that you have one.
I know. I'm so excited. So Kristen and I met at Able Arts Works annual event called Core. And it's, I'm actually a juror for this exhibit, and it features all people with disabilities. And there was just so many beautiful pieces there, by Kristen, by other artists, local, by artists who frequent Able Arts Work. And it was, I think it is my first big girl piece of art. Like, yeah. And I think it's
even more of an honor,
the one
then.
behind you of the
Yes.
It's the beauty queen, and her sash says misdiagnosed.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So when the exhibit is over, I'll be able to take my pretty home.
That is yours?
I don't think
this is the rhinestone version, and then she's got the photographic.
Yeah, I got the photograph version. Yeah, but I'm going to show you again really quickly, because this one is a photo, right, Kristen?
Yes.
And then can you explain the process, how you go from the photo to?
Yes. So what I do is I create a photograph with a set and a background and all this stuff to represent a specific, concept that I'm working on, whether it's, the IVs or shots or whatever it is. And then what I do is on a larger scale. So these are 24 by 24. And I recreate the image with rhinestones. So this is about 50,000 rhinestones per piece. And each one is individually hand placed. It's a very tedious process, but it's a very cathartic process for me. Because when you snap a photo, which is my background is photography, it's a very quick, there it is and there it's done. The creating the set can be a little bit more time consuming and the concepts and stuff. But once that's done, it's like, okay, now what? Whereas the rhinestoning, it's very intentional, it's very meditative, but it gives me a lot of time to process emotionally the topic that I'm addressing. So by the time that I'm done with that, I have a little bit more of an acceptance on what that topic is, and I can kind of move forward with life. So it's kind of like a therapy for me. And by the time it's done, it's the sparkly version. So it's another way to kind of like deconstruct the topic and then make it in this like more glamorous, for lack of a better word.
Yes, no, they are.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. What changes would you like to see in the way that the art industry views and treats people with disabilities?
I would love to see more inclusion, and I would love to see that everybody is treated equally, that it's not just this is a disabled artist and this is a non-disabled artist, that it's just artists. I talked about this when we had our talk at Able Arts, that when I first decided to step out of my bedroom and share this with the world, I was like, okay, well, where can you show disabled art? And there were like 5 places that I could find, like, ever.
Yeah.
And Able Arts Works was the only one that was like close by that, had a gallery that, and Jennifer was the only one that responded to me. So there just aren't the same kind of opportunities I've been lucky enough to get to show in non-disabled environments, which I think is equally important, because I think it's good to show to as broad of an audience as possible, and expand people's perceptions, you know, as much as I possibly can. Sometimes I feel like my message is lost sometimes, which is kind of disappointing. But I'm trying. I'm doing my best whenever, you know, but yeah, there just aren't the same opportunities, and I hope that can change.
And this is where we have to just start creating our own.
Yeah.
We just have to start creating our own, whether we do, you know, because social media is huge right now, whether we, you know, just start as a social media or an Instagram where it just shows just different kinds of disabled artists, disabled singers, you know what I mean? To just kind of break the mold, because everybody's so technology driven right now. Like maybe that's how we just kind of do it, is we literally say, you know what? We're going to bring it to the world, but we're not going to wait for you anymore.
Yeah.
We're not going to wait for you. Literally, we're not going to wait for you. I mean, your art is gorgeous. Your art is glorious. Your art is so tastefully done, and it represents you, and it does represent the disabled community and the things that we go through, but done, like you said, in a very glamorous way. And it's just so tasteful. I want a piece.
And I don't think that people equate disability as something that could be glamorous either.
Exactly.
Which is so false.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, and I mean this in the most loving way, but we are among the most high maintenance people. I mean, that right there is the epitome of glamour.
And we still look good,
like,
you know?
Like, I mean, yeah. So, and I think because art is relative, and when I look at your art, I do see like the photo, and then I see the embellishment. I see the embellishment as the reality of what disability is. Yeah. And I just think I'm just so excited. I'm deeply, deeply grateful that we met.
Me too.
And I just can't wait to see what the future has in store for you.
So much.
I love it. I have one more question, because I've truly enjoyed this whole conversation. And I want to know, for you, what have you learned about yourself through this journey of diagnosis and art and advocacy? Because that's the most important.
Well, let's see. So the thing that I've learned about myself probably was to challenge myself out of things that are out of my comfort zone. And I think that that's mostly come from advocacy, including like doing this today. Speaking is probably like the least favorite thing to do. And that's why I think I'm more drawn to art, because I feel like you don't have to speak. But I feel like you have to stand up and speak for the things that matter to you. And that is giving me purpose. Because when I first was diagnosed, that was when I stepped out of the workforce. And when I did that, I really felt lost, because like the first thing that everyone asks you is like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, I'm not doing anything, you know? So I felt like, what is my purpose in life now? And what am I doing with my life now? And so I really felt this like loss of purpose, and this has given that back to me and then some. And I feel like what I'm doing now is more important than anything else, because I feel like I'm hopefully, and then a lot of times I don't feel like I'm making any kind of difference, but I really hope that I can hopefully one day make a difference for at least one person to feel seen, to feel not alone, because this was such an isolating experience for me for so long. And what I've said before too is what I've gained from this personally so much is that by stepping forward and being honest about what my real struggles have been behind closed doors, is so many other people have been able to come forward and say, yeah, me too. And then that makes me feel less alone because I've found a community that has supported me. So that has meant so much to me. That wasn't what I was seeking to do. I was trying to help other people, but so many people like you guys are helping me feel, less alone through all this, and that we can lean on each other to get through this craziness and hopefully make a difference in the world to make it easier for the next generations, and
Absolutely. I love it. You just validated me. Thank you.
It's been so great, Kristen. Where can people find you and see more of your art?
So right now I'm on Paper Doll Trouble on Instagram. And yeah.
And then also Core is open at the Expo in Long Beach.
Yes, and that's running up until December.
Yeah, and it'll be up till December, and we'll put some information in the text of this episode. That way people can check it out. But thank you so much, Kristen. It's been such a joy. And I honestly meant it when I said I can't wait to see what the future has in store for you.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be on here.
Thank you for being on the CastABLE podcast, and we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.